Russia is not only fighting with Ukraine, but also facing off against the entire NATO or North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Just a few months after launching the war in Ukraine, during the Victory Day parade in Moscow, President Vladimir Putin boldly declared that NATO posed an unacceptable threat and that the military campaign in Ukraine was the only right thing Russia could do. However, did you know that it was Putin himself who once proposed that Russia would join NATO in the early days when he took over the presidency? This seems illogical, given NATO's purpose, which was formed on April 4, 1949. As the elder sibling in the war, the United States summoned representatives from 10 European countries and Canada to sign the North Atlantic Treaty Organization document. NATO initially had only 12 members. Its creation was considered timely, as just 4 months later the Soviet Union successfully detonated its first atomic bomb, ending the United States' atomic monopoly. So, essentially, NATO is a military organization born in part out of fear of the Soviet Union. Exactly when the Soviet Union collapsed, President Boris Johnson wrote to NATO stating that Russia hoped to join the alliance at some point in the future. The idea did not materialize then, but it was revived during Putin's first term, when he was handpicked by Yeltsin to lead a Russia sinking into crisis in 1999 after NATO carpet-bombed Yugoslavia. Relations between Russia and the bloc hit rock bottom. However, when tragedy struck New York in 2001, an opportunity arose for Russia and the military bloc to resume cooperation and join the fight against self-proclaimed jihadist state, and that was when U.S. President George Walker Bush met with Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Italy to sign what the press called a landmark agreement that would give Russia a voice alongside NATO and bury the Cold War forever. The NATO-Russia Council was newly established at that time, giving Russia an equal voice with NATO member states in a range of common security areas such as countering extremist organizations, crisis management, non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, arms control, building confidence, missile defense systems, and military cooperation. Russia participated in NATO's active endeavor operation in the Mediterranean in 2006 and 2007, or coordinated with NATO to train Afghan military and police forces. However, before Russia's membership offer, NATO felt unconvinced about Russia's abandonment of aggression and refused to grant full membership to Moscow. So, is the fault with Russia or not? Let's refrain from concluding until early 2024, when, in an interview with American journalist Tucker Carlson, we get Putin's perspective. The Russian leader had proposed joining NATO during a meeting with former U.S. President Bill Clinton, specifically stating that Putin hoped that if he said yes, the process of bringing the two sides closer together would begin. And ultimately, this could happen if we see sincere desire from our partners to do so. However, things didn't end that way. Yes, no, it's okay. Clinton initially enthusiastically welcomed the idea, then backed out, saying, "I became president in 2000. I thought that was it. The Yugoslav problem was over. We need to try to restore relations. Whatever the Russians want to do, we have to open the door that Russia wants to go through. And besides, I spoke openly about it. I can recall that at the Kremlin meeting with Bill Clinton, who was about to leave office right here in the next room, I said to him, I asked Mr. Bill, what do you think if Russia raises the issue of joining NATO? He said yes. Interestingly enough, I think so. But in the evening when we met for dinner, he said, you know, I talked to my people and this is not possible now. Putin even emphatically stated that he can ask him again. I think he will watch our interview and confirm it. I will never say anything like this unless there is. Maybe by now, everyone has their own conclusions. Compared to the version of the story told by NATO, it is impossible not to ask whether NATO never wanted Russia to step into this bloc from the beginning. Whether NATO could not abandon its deep-seated skepticism and all the handshakes, promises were just pie in the sky.